Love is longevity. And I believe that's what Justin's definition of love is. But let's introduce Justin Merod. Tell him who you are, where you're from, that shirt, what that shirt meaning is. Go ahead, young man.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. Always good to chat with you. We'll start with the shirt. The shirt was my own personal design for my own personal brand, just because one day, right? And the shirt is this is the mantra of the universe: more, more anything, more love, more longevity, more health, more food, more anything, really, whatever you want your definition to be. So I put this on and I put this into the universe so I can have
I like the
more
more food one. I like the more food.
abundance. Yeah, more food, more sex, stuff like that, right? So, but no, I'm in St. Louis. I think we met through a mutual group. So
Yeah, through
I'm at
our
St.
syndicate,
Yeah, through the syndicate.
2019.
Yep. And man, I just been hanging out here. I moved to Texas for a few years for work, kind of bounced around, traveling, and just trying to enjoy things, man. Trying to create, trying to share and create, man.
Okay, so the first question I'll ask you then, what are you grateful for in terms of like anything? Like, what are you grateful for at the moment? What are you grateful for in your 43 years of life? No, 40,
It'll be 42 in April. Yeah.
42, yeah, your 42 years of life. What are you grateful for the most?
I mean, the most immediate thing that always pops in my mind is what I'm grateful for is my nieces and nephews, man, just to be able to share who I am with them and just see how they grow up and knowing that in the future, I'll be able to imprint a lot of the things that you and I have talked about as well, imprint that into their lives in a positive way. So, just impact them. And on top of that, just I feel like I've been blessed with a great amount of longevity in my life. So I'm grateful for that too. So
What does that mean in terms of longevity? So love is longevity to you. What does that mean? How can someone
yeah,
implement that in their life? What activities that you think they have to do every single day to live a longevitous? I don't even know if that's a word.
it is
Long life.
now.
Longevitous.
A life of longevity.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a mental and a physical and a spiritual, all those realms, so whatever that might look like for somebody, that I feel like all three of those have to be healthy. I make an extremely active um attempt every single day to get movement and things like that. So, and then as well as meditation, studies, books, all that stuff,
Okay, so
relationships.
let's just get into it right away then. Your book. You
Yeah, man.
wrote a book. What's it about? Teach some people about NLP. Because our mission is to eliminate psychological suffering. That's the key. That's what mental fitness is all about.
Mm.
So just tell them about the book, what they can do, practical things, because they think it's like woo woo, like doesn't make sense, but like what are practical things? You said exercise, watch what you eat. What else?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got the author copy right here for it. The will get released in March 1st. But it's just a beginner's guide, man. It's just about, the different really small techniques that you can use, even something as simple as walking, turning a walk into a meditation, focusing on what's around you, not walking with your head in your phone while you're walking your dog or something like that. Be mindful, be alert, and feel how your body feels when you're stepping, to see how your body's aligned, see how your breath is aligned with your movement, that kind of stuff,
Yeah, because it's
and there's
dangerous to walk around with your cell phone in your hand and not look. I'm sure
yeah.
everybody's done it where
Oh
they
yeah.
maybe I've done it where like I've always walked into like a pole because I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah, I see people doing it all the time, and of course I do it too, but I always try to be mindful of my actions. So I'll stop, be like, okay, I got text Shad and boom, 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 and I'll stop on the sidewalk and move over just in case there's somebody walking by before I get going
Yeah,
again.
especially
So
like somehow like just be careful out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
It can be a
So I
danger.
mean, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more other things too, like there. I put in here the science of our breath. Some things that I've learned over the years, some stuff that people can find on the internet too. And
Okay, so
how and also like residual benefits, you know how being in the nature helps us, how the trees help us breathe, stuff like that. And people don't really think about that often, and then put that in a beginner's book and make them mindful of that, makes them go, okay, I
so
see how that's
give them a practical tip in terms of like breath work, because I know there's something called box breathing.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like a pretty popular one. I do that one too. I do that one.
yeah,
And
so
that's a
explain
bait.
it to them because I was gonna expand on my podcast like earlier a couple days ago, but I don't know enough about it to like speak to it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna speak to it because I don't like to speak to things that I don't know about. But I
Yeah,
have
and
to
the
study,
box
right?
breathing is cool because it's you can adapt it to your own level that you're at, right? So typically, you have a box, and so you breathe in, you hold it for 4 seconds, or you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds.
Okay, so
So you just
that's the way I explained it. I wasn't sure.
yeah, but it doesn't have to be 4 seconds. It could be 6 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, four. It could be six,
Oh, okay. I thought it
8,
had to be the same
10.
amount, like
No, you can just adapt it to however you want to be practicing, So, and you also want to practice how your breath is going to be moving within those amount of seconds. You want it to be really light, controlled, nice and slow and
uh-huh.
deep at the same time. And then same thing with the exhalation. You don't want to be just, you want to let it out nice, controlled, and slow, and be mindful of it, and you don't have to do it very long, a few minutes, and
Okay. Yeah,
you
that's
get the
the thing. People think like it's a lot of work, but like
it's
if you
not,
do like
it's
compound
not.
work, like work over
Yeah.
a period of time, like
Yeah.
it'll be done.
And you can use the breathing, like I use different breathing patterns when I'm doing my Tai Chi, which is another form of meditation. It's a moving meditation, just like walking. It's a little more advanced, but there's still some simple movements that go with that breath work and stuff too. So all that's in the book. I just felt like I've had all my studies that I've gone through, the things that I practice, and there's a lot of stuff that people don't think about. So I put it in a book, and hopefully it helps people. And I'm actually excited to see how it does and see how people react to it.
Okay. So what would you say in terms of like, say your top tool for putting yourself in the present moment? Because I think mindfulness is the key. What's your top tool for like people to learn? Like say they're like super anxious and like super anxious. What could they do to start being more mindful and in the moment? Because awareness is like
That's
presence. What would you say is
yeah,
your top thing?
that's a good question. Jocko calls it detachment. So it's kind of like that, but a lot of times if let's say I'm feeling, anxious about something, and I don't know what it is, I don't say, why am I anxious? Why am I feeling anxious? I say, why is Justin feeling anxious? So it puts you at a 30,000, from the third person view, looking at yourself going, okay, why is Justin
Who is
feeling anxious?
Justin? That's the
Yeah,
question. Who
exactly.
are
Like
we?
why is Justin feeling anxious? And you can go, oh, he's feeling anxious because he has a work deadline. Oh, okay. And you didn't realize at the time why you were feeling anxious. And subconsciously you're feeling it because you're like, oh, it's going to be Monday tomorrow. I'm anxious because of this thing. And like, you wouldn't have thought about it like that if you weren't able to draw back and see yourself from that third person, So
So, okay, perfect. So it's perspective, right? Like for instance,
yeah.
Jocko said it
Mm-hmm.
on a podcast, I think recently, where like he was like training with because he's the army guy, right? He was training, but he wasn't actually in the fight. He was in the same level as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to still see different perspectives. But people that are in the fight, like in the fire, they can't see that if they just step
Yeah.
this way, they're out of the
Mm-hmm.
fire. They're out of the smoke. But there's
Right.
like there's not they're blinders. Like, oh my God, nothing's possible. Because if
Yeah.
you see your stuff from your own perspective, right? Like if you're looking at have blinders on, but
Yeah.
if your friend is like to the side and can see what like your blind spot, so
Mm-hmm.
what you would say, I guess, awareness and like being able to recognize, like see yourself from somebody else's perspective is how you can kind of help yourself eliminate that suffering that you're having. Because a lot of people think they're the hardest critics, they're the hardest
Oh
on the
yeah.
right.
Mm. Yeah. 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 And going back to what Jocko, Jocko had his analogy, not his analogy, his real life experience was everybody was looking down the barrel of their rifle and everybody was waiting for a command. And finally he was like, he took a step back and looked around, he made a call, and everybody's like, oh, that was a great call, but everybody was like so focused, you know,
Yeah, they're
and
too
so,
stuck in their lives to
yeah,
like
they're
step
looking down
outside.
the barrel. Like you said, they got the blinders on, they're looking down the barrel in one direction instead of going, putting their head out swivel, So yeah, it's and it doesn't have to be, oh, okay, how do I look at myself through somebody else's eyes? You can look at yourself through your own eyes. Like I said, you just take a step back and be like, why is Shadin acting this way? Why is Shadin, if I'm I'd be saying, why is Shadin doing this? Oh, Shadin's doing this because he's feeling whatever it might be feeling, and you
Yeah,
can
so
recognize it and change it, and you're not so attached to it. That way it just becomes information instead of an emotion. And if you got information,
that's
you can do something with
that's
that.
interesting. Information. Okay, so
Yeah.
information. Let's talk about cognitive dialectic behavioral therapy. collect the facts before you make a judgment on something, right?
Right. Yeah.
And make before you judge yourself and be like, I'm fat. Let's make a judgment. Maybe you lost 10 pounds, but you're improving. Because what's his name? Tony Robbins, the greatest personal development coach ever. He says
Amazing.
progress equals happiness. So like a lot of people judge themselves without understanding. Like you're doing the work. It takes at least 90 days to
At
actually start
least.
seeing like a change in your physique, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, at least. Unless you've been doing it
Been
for so
doing
many
it.
years, and then it's even harder because then like, but it gets so specific that when you make that one specific adjustment, boom, you do see a quick increase, even if you've been doing it for many, many years like me.
Okay.
Like I've been on a program for 1 month and I've gained 2 pounds of muscle and lost 2% body fat in
Yeah.
1 month. And I've been
Okay,
working
so
out since that like 2010
it
or
takes a
before.
while. So let's do this then.
Yeah.
What would you say like the top thing for people, putting people in the moment, being them mindfully, other than like awareness? What would something like they can do other than the box breathing? Because that's something they can
Yeah.
relax them. But
Yeah.
what's something else like presence, awareness? People don't really think like that, right? They don't see
No. Yeah.
the perspective. So what can they do to help them rather than like, cold therapy, like jumping in a cold shower? That's gonna put you in the moment. That's something. But what's something you believe other than exercise, because exercise puts you in the moment,
Sure.
cold shower exposure? What's something else? I want to challenge you to think a little bit. What's
Two
something
things.
else?
Two things pop into my mind.
Yeah.
The first one is another concept that's in the book and that Alan Watts talks about is contemplation, where you don't worry about your breath, you don't worry about what you're thinking or anything like that. You just go outside and stare at a tree, and you just see how the sun comes through the branches. Maybe there's a bird singing, and you just say, "Hey, thanks for the gift." Take the moment for what it is. If it's cold as hell outside, it was 23 degrees. I'm walking outside. Do I want to do it? No. But I went out there and I was like, man, these clouds look really great. They look really awesome. You just take the moment. The other thing is I think about somebody else that I care about, so like right now I would think about my niece that I'm going to go see here pretty soon. And I would just turn my attention to them and be like, man, they bring me so much happiness and joy. And I feel so loved when I'm with them, and that's that definitely gets me out of any poopy pants state that I might be in,
Okay. So instead of like in terms of poopy pants, so the key point about sharing stories and why they have value, etc., is
Yeah.
you can actually help people like avoid those pitfalls. So if
Sure.
you could do anything for other people, what would that be? What would that look like? Like you said, love is longevity. So what would that look like for you? Like are you living the life that you want to right now, or are you going to be living that in the future?
Well, there's definitely a future goal for sure. And I believe, like yourself, I believe that everything we've done got us to this point, but there's also, all those things that we've done to get us to this point. It's not going to get us to where we want to go next. But I can't say that I'm living the life that I want to. Of course, I have a comfortable life, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm blessed to have all the things that I do now: a roof over my head, a bed to sleep in, food in my fridge, a gym to go to. But there's always something more, and I don't really know. I don't know, man. I don't really know how, other than being able to show people and tell people that, it's important how you talk to yourself. It's important how you show up for yourself. Because not a lot of people know what that means. They don't understand kind of how, what does that mean? Talk to yourself and treat yourself, show up for yourself, take care of yourself. They might have a clue, but there's so many different ways, man. There's so many different ways.
Yeah,
So
right now, like self-love is like taking a hot bath and like not like avoiding whatever issue that you're having. That's
yeah,
self-love, right?
avoidance. Yeah, no, definitely not that. Definitely not that.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of ways, but again, going back to your point, for me, it's going to the gym, going outside, taking a walk, and just taking a break from, the typical space that I'm in, which is my house, my work is here, blah, blah, blah. So if I can get away from that and be in nature for a while, I come back and I feel energized. I feel good, and
yeah, I
I
think
look
people
back.
need to understand even like we're connected to nature where like if you actually go out and like ground yourself, like
Oh yeah, dude.
that can be like a good thing.
That's in the book too. A little bit of grounding, and getting the ion exchange from the earth.
Yeah, so
That's a
yeah, free
huge thing.
radicals, it helps with free radicals, like basically like
Yeah,
decreasing inflammation and whatnot, things like that.
yeah. That's a huge thing. And now you can buy mats and stuff. Grounding mats that you just plug
Can you?
into a grounded outlet. Yeah, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing. Like you can get little, little mouse pads. So while you're on your computer, you can set your elbow on it and stand on a little mat while you're
Yeah,
working.
there's actually something called what was it called? Like even the lights. So like having sunlight in the morning,
Yeah.
like wake yourself up. You can wake yourself up through sunlight. It's
Yeah.
like a sunlight
100%.
like lamp or something like that.
Unless you're like me and you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's no sunlight,
Yeah, or
man.
like me, it doesn't sleep.
Yeah, or like you only need like 2 hours of sleep. You're
Listen, yeah,
freaking
because
you're an
I flex
alien.
my I don't care. Leave me alone. I gotta stay focused. Like
Yeah.
because a lot of people, like I find that like they're so busy. Like, no, you don't gotta
Oh
be
yeah.
online. Like people think I'm on the internet. I'm barely on the internet. I go on the internet, post my stuff and dip. Like I'm
Right.
not on there.
Enjoying the rest of what the world has to
Yeah,
give you,
I'm
man.
out. Like I've almost it's what by 10 a.m. I had 8,000 steps already. And I got up 5:30.
Jeez.
Like I've been
What?
moving.
Yeah, yeah. You got a lot of places to go, man. You're
Right?
always
Like,
walking
yeah,
around.
I'm
Yep.
all over the place, but like I could take the go, or I take the
Yep.
bus. I'd rather just walk. Like I was
Yep.
talking to you earlier, right? We
Yep.
talked for like half
Yep.
an hour, walk to the go station, and then
That
there's
was
a
it was more
guy.
like 45 minutes because that's
Yeah, it
how
was
long
probably
my
longer
walks
because
usually are.
we
It
went.
was.
Yeah, because I was on the go like half that time, so like
Yeah.
26 minutes to the go. But yeah, okay.
So yeah,
So
so
the question I'm gonna ask you then. So you mentioned if you could do anything for other people is to realize like basically self-governance, like they're the ones responsible for their happiness. That's kind of what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so then,
helping them change their state that way and knowing that it's
okay.
possible and like yeah,
So for the next guest, so I just had an interview,
yeah.
and he asked about freedom. What does freedom mean to you? How does somebody achieve freedom? This is second last question, and then we're gonna end it off for you asking the next guest a question for them to learn
Yeah.
about what you want. But freedom, what does freedom mean to you? What does it stand for? How would you physically see it in society?
I think my definition of freedom is pretty mainstream, if I will, but it's a financial freedom. I don't want to be tied down to working for, and which I currently am now, but I don't want to be tied down to working for a corporate business, a corporate job. I want to be able to create something of my own and go where I want to, work wherever I want to, impact however I want to, instead of having to be on somebody else's set schedule, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is. So for me, that's freedom. Um, and also, like I said, so that's freedom of time, freedom of, financial freedom, making, you know, consistently making more money every year so I can do the things that I know it's going to be fun for me and do the things I know it's going to be fun for my family. And also give back to, like give to charities and things like that. Spend my extra time writing some books, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how I look at freedom, time and money. And I do, I work from home, so I do have a lot of freedom, but it's still, I still have to be tethered to the work laptop from certain times of the day, Monday to
Yeah,
Friday.
you got to report to the man.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I got to talk to my boss, bi-weekly, a one-on-one meeting for literally no reason. And I'm sure there's a reason, but to me, it's just pointless, man. But so that's my freedom. Um,
Okay, so then what would you want to ask the next person
yeah,
to
that's
learn their wisdom? What would you want to ask that person?
that's a good question. That's a good question, man. I'm definitely not prepared to ask somebody else a question right now. Um,
That's the tricky one. You gotta like learn. What would you want to learn? Like say your
yeah,
20-year-old self, what question would you want to ask like God if like if
I would
you had
say
an
I would
answer
say
for you?
something like, what have you recently figured out about yourself that is going to help you in the future? You
Okay.
know, yeah. Like,
Okay.
is there a skill or something that you're in the process of developing that you feel is gonna do something for you and your family, or in your
I could
longevity?
answer that. It's mental fitness.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So, but definitely that. But then, if that's like your typical answer, then maybe there's something else. Maybe there's
There's
something
someone
else
else's
that.
answer. Yeah, everybody has
Yeah,
something different, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So where could they pick up your book? Where could they find you if they wanted to connect?
Instagram. I don't know. Maybe you posted somewhere. I have no idea. So J Merod
Yeah,
58.
I'll post it in the show description.
Yeah, and right now I don't have a link really set up because it's the book isn't going to be for pre-order until March 1st, and then it'll be free for 3 days pre-order.
Okay.
But right now I'm just sending out copies and from a PDF to anybody that wants to read it for free, as long as I can get some feedback from them. So
Okay.
I don't necessarily have a link for that just yet. I could easily set one up, Google form or something like that, and have them link to a download, but I guess I need to work that out.
Okay, that's fine.
But you'll know when it's out, man. You'll know when it's out. I'm excited about it. I got, paperback and a hardback or hardcover coming. And
Oh yeah, I like the hardcover. I don't like having the paperback copies of books because it's like it just seems like soft, like it's gonna break,
and it'll eventually be released as an audiobook too.
Audiobook, yeah.
So you could hear in the next few months it'll be on Audible, because I know that's a big thing. It's easy. So
Okay.
it'll be on Audible soon. I am not gonna read it. Somebody else is gonna read it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Thank you for being
Yeah,
on.
Yeah, man.
Just
I'm
connect with
looking.
him. And yeah, thank you for being on. Just remember to basically do 3 things every single day, every single moment. Remember to always choose love.
Always choose love.
All right.